There we go. We are now live. Welcome back to the Football Terrace, ladies and gentlemen. Jadon Sancho to Manchester United is heating up once again. Lots of new stories, lots of new developments to deliver to you this afternoon. But as ever, we want your views. We want your opinions on this because they count more than anybody else's. What the fans think matters most to us. But what we need from you, first of all, hit the like button, share button, retweet button. So make sure you're subscribing to the Football Terrace. Two big pieces of information. The first from Fabrizio Romano, who has been very consistent on one element of this deal, from being consistent on large elements, but he's stated on his podcast today, that Borussia Dortmund will accept a bid and will sell Jadon Sancho this summer. The reason that's so important is because many outlets and many people keep telling us over and over again that Dortmund will not sell no matter what. The deadline has passed. They will not entertain the notion or the idea of selling the player. And Fabrizio Romano, this afternoon, along with other journalists, but Fabrizio being the most credible, has confirmed that Borussia Dortmund will sell Jadon Sancho to Manchester United this summer. Aside from that, there is also big talk and a big rumor that Jadon Sancho is forcing a move away from Borussia Dortmund. First and foremost, removed himself from the squad for the German Super Cup final, which takes place this evening. He removed himself for that. And reportedly, he is now going to push for a move away and, in all intents and purposes, be handing in a transfer request and letting Dortmund know that he does not and he will not want to continue playing football for them, and he wants to go through with his move to Manchester United. All of that is shrouded in the background of Manchester United gearing up and getting ready to make what they believe will be a big enough and that is suitable for Dortmund to accept and for the Jadon Sancho saga to end and for him to become a Manchester United player. I want your views. I want your opinions on this. Please smash the like button now. Hit the share button. Hit the retweet button. We're going to go into your live comments because, as I say, I want your views and I want your opinions on this. I really, really do. I want your opinions on this massively. Let's delve into some of your live comments here. I don't even know what you're all saying on here. Let's go to a few more of these live comments. Ultra67 just posting pictures here of the Man United emblem and badge. I love that. Terry is forcing a move. I like a little bit of that. That's an interesting one. Terry is moving like Ed Woodward. Don't quite get that point, but there we go. David here says Marco Reus isn't in charge of transfers. Yeah, Marco Reus saying the player's going to stay. Listen, if somebody told me earlier on today, you know, if Katie Hopkins gave me transfer updates, I believe it as little as I believe a player from the current club that Jadon Sancho is at. What we've been told this afternoon rings true to me. Dortmund are willing and ready to sell Jadon Sancho to Manchester United. Man United are gearing up their first official bid, which they believe will be enough to land Jadon Sancho. And Jadon Sancho is looking to force a move away from Dortmund. First stage of that we've already seen by removing himself from the Dortmund squad. I want your views. I want your opinions on this. I truly, truly do. Still win some more of these comments here. I love some of these comments. They make me die. Come on. Half of them, though, I can't read out because it's just everybody else. All you guys attacking each other. I kind of enjoy the banter, really, that you all have. Are you being led by your heart or by your head, Terry? Do you know what, Kieran? That's a really good question. I'm not being led by anything. I'm being led. I've had my belief all along that Man United are the front runners to sign him, that Man United can sign him, that the player wants to join Man United. But I've always said we need to come to a deal that is suitable for all parties. And I've always said that it's still alive. What I'm presenting to you is information that journalists are given. My opinion on this almost becomes irrelevant. It's no more important than what you think, Kieran, and what the rest of the viewers think. It's about fan opinion. We're a fan platform and community. All I'm presenting, this isn't me sitting here thinking this is what I think he's going to put in a transfer request. I think Dortmund would agree to sell him if we bid the right amount of money. I'm telling you what credible journalists with connections to both clubs are telling us. It's for you to assess whether you believe it to be true. What I really love about the Jadon Sancho saga is people that don't want it to happen for whatever reason, when it's negative news, that they believe it. Honestly, it's like Jesus just pissed the information out all over. Oh, this must be true. Comes direct from Jesus's bladder, right? Right in my face. Lovely. Got a lovely golden shower, right? And if it's negative, if it's positive, and from their view negative, it's disregarded as complete and utter BS, regardless of the source. And I love it. I love it, baby. It's just amazing, and it warms my cockles. Hit that like button now, ladies and gentlemen. Terry, I feel bad for you talking about Sancho every day. The Glazers are not doing anything. And you can feel sorry, bro. We're going to talk about it regardless of who the owners of Man United are, because it's the biggest news out there. We pick 3 or 4 transfer stories a day, the biggest ones that are trending on social media. Can't look beyond this. You know, we could have looked at the Lookman deal that's going on. We could have looked at the Barkley deal that was going on. Who really cares? Who really cares? No one. No one cares about them deals. It's as simple and as straightforward as that. Some more member comments here. Romano said 220 million or nothing. All other bids will be rejected. Let's go into what he said, because what Fabrizio said is so intriguing when you read it and you digest it. He says Dortmund want 120 million guaranteed immediately. Get guaranteed immediately, not paid immediately, not transferred immediately, but guaranteed immediately. As I've said to a lot of fans, for 3 years now, 95% of all transfers are paid via installments. Now, that's either directly to the club as installments, or clubs take out some type of lending facility or borrowing facility to pay for these players. Man United could actually end up doing both here. What Dortmund want is what they've said they want is a guarantee of 120 million euros regardless. They don't want performance-related add-ons. Man United have pretty much met their figure, but a percentage of it, around about 17 million pounds, and circular sort of, about 17 million pounds or so. Maybe it's a bit more than that. It's about 20 million pounds, sorry, is performance-related add-ons. Dortmund don't want that. The difference is United have not yet submitted an official bid, so the money hasn't been put on the table. Man United paying 120 million euros as a lump sum transfer is so unlikely to happen, because transfers just don't happen like that unless you're doing buyout clauses, or unless you're in a situation whereby you have 2 teams fighting over a player and one is prepared to pay cash up front, just as we saw with the Harry Maguire situation last year. That's how they work. So what Fabrizio said is that Dortmund want a guarantee of 120 million euros they will receive, as opposed to it being via add-ons. We've seen in recent years the likes of the Philip Coutinho deals getting nowhere near 100. You know, they're getting nowhere. Like Liverpool have had nowhere near the money that was initially set up in that deal, because 40 to 50 million pound of it was performance-related add-ons, and he didn't perform. The clubs now go, no, actually, I want a guarantee, because the add-on elements do not always work. They've also been stung with the Dembele deal because lack of performance there. So it's a real interesting one and a real intriguing one. But what I love is how people pick and choose which elements of information they pull out. Other breaking news: Man United are willing to increase their bid for Alex Telles to 15 million euros by adding performance-related bonuses. I'm not convinced by any of that. A deal has been agreed as far as I'm concerned on that one. There's simply the waiting game of Pereira and Smalling, which will be concluded over the next 48 hours to be done before that deal is announced. If you want to get your comments read out, please do me a favor and hit the like button right now. Get your super chats in. Comment, he says, Terry Frederick, who is the journalist, I think his name is pronounced Frederick Fieldvelt, never said he's putting in a transfer request. Yeah, listen, let's not get ourselves lost in semantics here. if you refuse to train, if you pull out of match day squads in the midst of a big club putting a transfer request in, bidding for you, it's a transfer request. It may not be, he may not write on a piece of paper with a crayon, I'm handing in a transfer request, but it's a transfer request. Let's not, get lost in semantics here and nitpick and be facetious. Not facetious, pedantic would be the word I would use. Pedantic as opposed to facetious. Terry, I'm telling you, Sancho is coming, is what Nabil thinks. Listen, I now want to hear what you all think and feel. We're opening up the Skype lines now. Phone the Football Terrace, wherever you are around the world. Hit the like button. Hit the share button as well. So important to us. Supports us so much when you do that. Please get it done right now. Call the show. I want to hear from you. Transfer request pending according to unverified credible journalists, very close to Ollie. The second element I want to speak about is what Fabrizio has said. And as if by magic, we have one of the most positive Man United fans in the world on the show with us now. Man like KJ. What you saying, bro?
Yo, one of the most positive. Yes. I believe in hopes and dreams, in it. That's all it is.
You're a God-fearing man. That's why, brother.
Amen. But yeah, this whole Jadon Sancho thing is now, like, before I was getting super nervous and super agitated, like, because we're not making any moves. Now that moves are being made, I'm actually super intrigued now. Like, I'm finding this very fascinating now that actually moves are being made. It's not just paper talk and Dortmund are saying this and United saying this. It's actually, no, the player is reacting in a certain way. The clubs are acting in a certain way. The whole thing now is really intriguing. And I'm more calm now. I'm calm. Like, I really want Sancho. I believe that we can get him. But like this whole thing is super intriguing. Like, just as a football fan.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. And what I'm loving about, what I've said to you before about why I love the transfer window. I love it. I feel like this the whole way through. I've done this for 3 or 4 years now. I love watching. I used the word earlier, pedantic. The pedantic and the kind of over scrupulous. I can't say the word properly. Nature of fans. So they'll say things like, "Well, Frederick didn't actually say put a transfer request in." Yeah, but he said he's pulling himself, pretending to be sick to get out of a squad. That message is I want to leave, right? We don't need to have, do people actually think players, as I said, get a crayon out and write, I've handed in a transfer request on a piece of paper? Like, it doesn't work like that. It's just a myth that it does. Does that make sense? There's more than one way to skin a cat. But that's what I love about it. And as you say, me and you have a lot of conversations off air. You'll get one journalist say, I saw this one guy is a Liverpool fan. He sent me 4 articles today saying the deal is not going to happen no matter what. He hasn't sent me one article from journalists saying if Man United bid the right amount of money, it's happening, because he doesn't want to see that half the story. I'm very aware that Manchester United's deal for Sancho may not happen if we don't bid the money. And that's cool. That's fine. But as you say, it's going to be very intriguing. The PR element is key as well here. Who's going to come out on, like I've said, everyone who dislikes Man United, including 50-60% of our fans, this is going to be twisted into a negative. Like, you've already seen it set up for that. But why did it take so long? That doesn't matter what happens now. It's going to be a negative anyway. So I'm kind of ignoring that element and just going to look forward to the ride. Plus, there's talk of 4 other players coming in, inclusive or additional, or aside from or inclusive of Jadon Sancho, with Dembele and Jovic, and the Telles deal has taken another positive step forward. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting next sort of 5 days, mate.
Yeah, it is. Man United have, like, they're on this mad tightrope right now, where if they pull off Jadon Sancho and Telles and potentially a Jovic or maybe a Cavani, they can turn this into the best transfer window we've had since Jose's first season. But on the flip side, if they don't bring anyone else in and all it is Donny van de Beek, they can turn this into the worst transfer window since Jose's first season. You know what I'm saying? So
it's on a knife edge, mate. There's no doubt. In other news, which is very positive, paperwork is now signed between Lazio and Man United for Andreas Pereira. So that is going to happen. That's a nice sort of 30K a week off the salary. That's not the guarantee of 27 million euros, but somewhere close to that, which is nice. and the final bid that will be accepted from Roma will be in over the next couple of days. That will then see, in my opinion, the deal for Tellus completed, which I think, as you say, will make everybody. If Tellus was to complete tonight, as an example, I think it would make everybody a lot more comfortable, even with the Sancho pursuit. Does that make sense? Because we've got two in, and someone who is going to elevate us massively. So it's in such an intriguing position. It really is, mate.
Yeah, man. Like Pereira, I think this is going to be like the best thing for him. He's going to go to Serie A play. I can see him playing well. It's a slower league. He's got the technical ability that we all know, but his decision making is poor. But if he's in Serie A, I feel like he has more time to come to the right decisions quicker. Whereas in the Premier League, it's a bit too fast for him. So I feel like it'd be a great move for him. People are like, oh, he's going to go over there and flop. Nah, man, it's going to be fine. I believe that Lazio will end up buying him at the end for 27 million euros. Is an absolute daylight robbery. But this is what football is about. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can't always be the team that gets shafted. You know, sometimes we might have to what am I trying to say? You know what I'm trying to say?
Sometimes it's the coin's going to fall our side. Absolutely. And like I've said, we were talking off air earlier, and I'll be honest, I would have loved all these deals to have been done in July, at the end of July, early August. Of course I would. Like, only an idiot wouldn't have wanted all these deals done sooner rather than later. But I'm also completely aware that we don't have a great team that deals with them, who have tried changing their tact over the last year or so. And I keep hearing people say it's the easiest summer to ever do transfers in. I can't believe we haven't taken advantage of it. And I'm sitting there thinking, but who really, barring Chelsea, that we know their situation is different, who else has? And I'm not talking about signing squad players, because United had two approaches to go for this summer. You could buy 4 or 5 squad players, or you could buy 2 or 3 new first team players who make your squad deeper by proxy by pushing down the current first team players to squad players. And that's what we've gone for. We haven't done what Tottenham and Arsenal have done so far by buying some decent, but then some bang average squad players at Premier League level. You know what I mean? Like cannon fodder, fillers. Liverpool have made one good signing, and it was a cut price player who wanted to leave his club. It was a fairly easy deal to get done. City have taken all summer to get Ruben Diaz done. By the way, that's because they spent the whole time chasing Koulibaly and it couldn't happen. He was their second choice. So they actually failed with their first choice, and they've gone for somebody else last minute.
Actually their third.
Or third choice then. There we go.
Yeah, because they wanted Jimenez from from Atletico Madrid, and apparently his release clause is 120 million. So they were like, yeah, no, we're not spending that.
Yeah, exactly. So they've spent all summer doing it. I just find it's a weird notion. You know, Barcelona, I mean, they're just about to sign, is it, I can't remember how to pronounce his name now. Is it Dest or Dest?
Oh, yeah, Dest
so,
for the right back position.
So they're signing him, which is a decent signing. Real Madrid haven't made any significant purchases as far as I'm aware. You know, Bayern Munich, one major purchase as an example. Dortmund, no major purchase in terms of star names coming in. You know, I know there's been that weird deal between Juve and Barca, but that's basically a free transfer because of what they're both giving one another. There hasn't been a lot of work this summer. So it's just a weird notion that I get people's point. United could have done this, could have done that, could have done the other. But let's see. Let's wait until the end and then allow us to judge it. But if you're a negative person, you're only going to twist it into a negative anyway, regardless of what goes on. We're going to add Hussein to the call here. Hussein a Bayern Munich fan. What do you make, bro, of the... Just waiting for him to actually be loaded in. Here he is. What do you make of the story this afternoon? Dortmund will accept if the bid guarantees 120 million euros. And a lot of reports are now starting to suggest slowly that Sancho may start to force the move now that United are willing to actually put an official bid in. Give us your opinions, mate.
Can you hear me?
Perfect.
All right. So I think, so a lot of people know Jadon Sancho was in, Manchester City's academy. And I think what's most important for him is just getting back to his home country, of course. I think he just wants to go back home. And there's been a lot of rumors, about Dortmund trying to look for a replacement as well for quite some time. So I do think that, they are, of course, willing to sell him, but it's also, it depends on the fee. If United are willing to pay the 120 million euros, then, they'll take it. Because the thing about Dortmund right now is, in German football, they already have fans in the stadium. They don't really need the money for Jadon Sancho. So I think, United just, I think if Jadon Sancho can force the transfer, I think that'll be even better, because United they just need a right winger. They haven't had a proper right winger since Di Maria. And
further back, mate.
Further back, maybe. I mean,
Ronaldo,
Di
bro.
Maria, he was being forced to play wing back by Van Gaal, So, but yeah, I mean, basically simple as I think he should force the transfer. I think he just wants to go back home. There's already a few English players from the national team, like Rashford and Maguire. I think that'll help him settle very easily. And I mean, because there are rumors that Dortmund are looking for a replacement, then I'm very sure that in the coming days or so, United will make their final bid. Yeah.
Yeah, and from Man United's point of view, it'll be their first bid, and they'll say, 100% completion rate. Yep, we bid, we got him. Sir Knight McGee here says, wait a year and have your pick of clubs, Jadon, is what he said there. Thanks for saying for coming on, mate. Really appreciate that. He says that, yes, he could do that. He could do that, but we will see. Jonathan Reed, one of our members here says, Dortmund won't get a replacement. They don't need to. Fair enough if you believe that. Let's do some more of these. Someone said Leroy Sané is injured. Okay, thanks for telling us. Thank you. Jake here says Rice to Chelsea is inbound. Do you know what's crazy? A lot of Chelsea fans, 4 or 5 games into this season, KJ, don't want any more signings. I see their comments. I think it's the worst thing because we're struggling to gel as it is. The last thing we need is more players coming in. What are you saying?
Yeah, they need to slow down. They can actually they can wait for Rice for next season, because I actually believe West Ham will go down, and then we'll make him even cheaper as well. Listen, Chelsea have done absolute madness, but now they're starting to see where the decisions are taking them. Like no one should have expected them to click so easy. I know we've got Munster, who's very confident, and other Chelsea fans who are very confident, but this is their performances without too many additions into the team.
Yes.
And all they keep saying is, but wait until all our players are back. Yeah, wait until that, and look how many players will have to gel together. Instead of this is why I'll always say Jadon Sancho is value for money compared to what Chelsea have bought in for the same amount, because we only really need to embed one player in. Like Chelsea, if you look at it, Werner needs to adapt to the Premier League. Kai Havertz needs to adapt to the Premier League. Ziyech needs to adapt to the Premier League. Pulisic just started to get adapted to the Premier League, but he's always injury prone. And then all those 4 players need to start playing together as well, because none of them, bar Havertz and Werner, have ever played together.
Yeah, no, listen, I totally get that, mate. I totally get that indeed. I think that the Chelsea situation is very much like that. They 110% need to what's the word I'm looking for here? Gel. It takes time. Most people were saying that to them. And like myself, I think Chelsea will have a better season this year than last year when you look at it as an entirety. And I'm talking that they'll eventually click into a better gear. They're going to beat some teams up badly at times. They'll get more points. I think they'll win more games. I actually think they'll lose less in the Premier League, as an example. And who knows what you can do in a cup competition. I think predicting what you're going to do in an FA Cup or a Champions League is very hard, because it's difficult because you know what it is with football? It's sometimes about form, right? Look at Liverpool last season, right? Liverpool hit a little bad patch just as they were playing back-to-back games with Atletico Madrid. And sometimes I've seen that happen so many seasons where teams have been you might be really good all year, and you go for a little 4 or 5 rough week patch, and it could see you drop out of 2 cup competitions But then after it, you click back into gear again. So it's hard to say, but they will be a better football team. And because they're going to be a better football team, for me, it's a case of they have to have patience. However, buying another player is just going to make this process take that little bit longer, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, and you got to think as well who's gonna go out. They've got so many players that are still there. Like, is that like Emerson is still there, Victor Moses is still there, so is Danny Drinkwater. These players are still at their club, so they need to sort that out first. I think like the most important thing now is to get their outgoings like sorted, because you can't go into a season with people like Victor Moses and Danny Drinkwater in the squad, because they'll just be unhappy. They'll be knowing that what's the point of being there, because they're not going to play football anyway. You're telling me that Victor Moses couldn't get any games in the last few weeks because they've got no wingers?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. And the thing is, it's not even about, sometimes people use the words like virus. It's become a very popular word as an example. For me, it's not about that, right? It genuinely isn't about people being bad apples, bad eggs, or anything along those lines. What it's about for me is it's someone being happy in that environment. And sometimes it can have negative effects on other people if these things are to happen. But from my point of view, I'm quite happy and quite glad that it's taking Chelsea a bit longer. I think it helps everybody else out, in my view. I think it helps everybody else out.
Yeah. Like the atmosphere is really important. It's like it's like people would like to make football seem like it's this very unique thing in certain aspects, when it's not. Like when you're at a job and you've got that one person who's just moaning, who's just unhappy, he just doesn't want to be there. It affects everyone, like intentionally or unintentionally. They don't have to be going around screaming at people or going around shouting at managers to be putting off bad vibes. You know what I'm saying? Like it's an important thing in football. And if you got players in there who are just doing their job, but you know that they don't want to be there, they're unhappy.
Yeah.
Squad. So like Chelsea need to, once Chelsea sort out their outgoings as well, I think things will settle down more. I think because there must be a lot of anxiety in certain players about where they're going to go, if they're going to leave, am I still going to be here? And that might be rubbing off on some of the players. It might be like making it hard for some of these players to gel into. So I think once the outgoings are gone, I think you're definitely going to see some better football from Chelsea, and definitely give people something positive to say about them right now. Because the only thing you can say is they've spent money and they've got some cool players.
Yeah, no, I get that completely. I've changed the tweet in relation to this video that we're doing right now. I'm going to go to super chats in a minute, because Frederick Fieldveld tweeted me saying he never said that it was a transfer request. I will just address this publicly. I know you didn't, but for me, when you tweet out saying that he's trying to push a move, he's trying to push through the transfer to Man United. Let's not get twisted about words, Mr. Frederick. I'm taking it as a transfer request. Like if someone in my club, if a Man United player was trying to push a move away right now, I'm not going to get. I don't want to be overly pedantic here. That's someone trying to force a move. Trying to force a move, it's the same thing to me as a transfer request. Now, it may not be an official one that loses you bonuses or whatever, but it's the same difference. But I have corrected the tweet and changed it to trying to push through a transfer to Manchester United. I thought I would address that quickly. But for me, 110%, there's no difference. If he's pretending to be sick to get out of a squad, how's that? Okay, cool. This is a transfer request, but there we go. Kieran with a super chat here says, I think they are looking to buy Rice as a centre back rather than a CM, though they aren't sure they want. Sorry, although they aren't so. Wait on, let me read this again. Then a CM, though aren't they so what to use Silver experience? I kind of get what you're saying there. Why not use? I think taking the risk of using. Taking the risk of buying Rice and playing him as a centre-back, where I've never seen him play in the Premier League, that's such a big risk. Big risk.
Right, Danny Rice. Declan Rice as a centre-back, in a centre-back 2, with Thiago Silva on the high line is not a good idea. It's not a good idea. I don't think Chelsea would want him to do that. I think he'd be there to play as a DM role. But Rice at centre back has done it in the Prem a few times. That's how he kind of broke out into the West Ham team. But he was playing in a low block. You know what I mean?
Exactly. He hasn't played. He hasn't played in a system where they're going to be free flowing like Chelsea do. And equally, look, I've seen McTominay play at centre back about 6-7 times for Man United and for Scotland. And recently we did it for Scotland. In the first game, I kind of saw, he did all right. He did all right in that position. And then the second game in the international break where he played there, it was like, please never play him there again. Now, he will be better than Scott McTominay at centre back because he's played there before, academy level more regularly. McTominay never played there. But still, it's a crazy risk. And where that could damage Lampard is if it doesn't work. By the way, my corrected tweet has just been quote tweeted by Frederick, who just put an emoji in of, it's of Jim Carrey pointing at, like as if he's pointing at me and then going, like saluting to me there. So yeah, just thought I'll put the clarification in. But that's what's mad. And I would say this if Frederick was on the thing with us. What's the bloody difference? Like, really? What's the difference? Like, theoretically, what is the difference, man? Like, for me, he's trying to push through a transfer, but he's not putting a transfer. Come on. See, do you see what I mean by semantics in this? It's so important because, I get why. But yeah, it's one of those ones for me. But
Terry, you know, I would really love to see though, Jovic, man. I actually thought about it like today. I'm like, I'm all for that. Like, I really want that to go through. Like Jovic coming in as a backup striker or someone who can challenge Martial. As much as Cavani is a very, very, like, one of the best strikers in Europe for a very long time. He's got his goal scoring record is impeccable. You can't knock it. But I just think getting him in on a 1 or 2 year deal with like 250k plus wages is not a good idea, especially coming into the Premier League, especially with his injury record. I just don't feel it. I'm not feeling it. But Jovic though, that can run. Like, I'm here for that.
Yeah. 1 sec, mate. Just when you try and multitask. From my point of view, I agree with you. The Jovic still excites me because we know there's talent. He's young. When I look at the other deals we're linked with, Cavani, old, and you think he could come in and kill it. But then there's even an element of me that would hurt because you're like, he's killing it. But for how long can he actually do that in a United shirt, right? You've got the Dembele deal. If the man didn't have hamstrings made out of matchsticks, of course you'd be buzzing about signing someone of his quality. But you just kind of know that he's going to spend, half the season injured. And I don't like that that's true. But let's be honest. It's true. Do you get what I mean? So from my point of view, what I like about Jovic, he hasn't worked for him so far at Madrid, but it doesn't mean it won't. We've got another super chat here that says, I'm all for going. Sorry. All I'm going to say is as long as we have Ed Woodward, we will never win the Premier League. They don't care for Man United. It's a business now. I don't think you're overly wrong about that opinion. That's kind of true. But this is where people get me wrong. I get that, and I almost pretty much believe it with you. But it doesn't mean I don't want to see them do... How do I say this? Doesn't mean I want to see them run it even worse.
Yeah.
So you might... do you get what I mean? It's I don't kind of... that sort of approach of... it's a bit like saying, my house needs a bit of renovation work. But do you know what? I'm never going to have the money to do it. So what I'm going to do is burn it down. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's like, okay, I ain't got the money to make the house look how I want it to look, so I'll do what I can do. That's how I sort of feel I want Man United to be run. Someone here said, Terry, why are you copying Mark Goldbridge? He said that Dembele had breadsticks for hamstrings. You said matchsticks. Both. Look, all those phrases are fairly common. I've heard them all before. Like the phrase biscuit fingers. I've heard people saying that for 20 years about bad goalkeepers. No one made that up. Well, someone did, but no one on YouTube made that phrase up. So relax your brain, innit? Chill out a little bit. Chill out a little bit. There we go.
Yeah, as long as you don't start calling people Pratt, yeah, I don't care what you take from goal.
You Pratt.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, interestingly, the word Pratt is like, a lot of people say it, a lot of people know what it means. At the same time, it's kind of his thing now, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is. But there we go. I love it. People are so triggered on social media. It is unbelievable.
We're talking about being triggered. Did you see the Fabrizio and this journo beef that's going on?
No.
So late last night, you had a female journalist. I think she is the founder of Sports Witness. Basically calling out Fabrizio just randomly, saying that he just takes other people's stories, piggybacks off them, gets the confirmation, and doesn't really work for what he's got. And real actual journalists are suffering because of it. And I was like, rah. Like,
yeah, I think it's one of those things where, listen, I'm not calling Fabrizio out because I don't know, and I don't look into it that deeply. However, I feel like, I've heard a lot of people say that recently, in the same way a lot of the in the know accounts do. And the thing is, like, not all of them, but some of them do. Some I think some people do that. They work out the formula, if that makes sense. I think they work out the formula and they're able to turn around and be like, okay, well, I'm going to do X, I'm going to do Y and Z, and tweet and say things in a certain way. But what I would say to defend Fabrizio, he calls things out too close to when they happen. The man's been on tarmac when the lit was landing, bruv. Like, how do you get there without knowing people? And it's, like I said about the _PO account. Like the Man United got the Muppeteers, who I've only got introduced to this summer. I read quite a bit of their stuff. It's not just they don't guess it 6 months in advance and go, we told you. It's like hours before someone credible comes out with it. And I sit there and think, how have you? There's no way you've learned to guess that like that.
Yeah.
In my, like, guessing it like that isn't is if you've learned, if it's a skill you've learned, then you need credit for that anyway, because that's amazing. But I don't think it's a skill that they've learned. I think they've got information. But that's my view. That's my view anyway.
But personally, I just don't see why people get so worked up about in the know accounts or certain journalists. Like, I personally just find it funny. Like, you've seen the gift that I use when I see a story that I don't believe. I just hit them with that, and then that's me done. You know what I'm saying? Like, people they get really agitated and annoyed by it, and I'm just like, yo, guys, like, if you don't believe it, then just move on.
Well, it's like this. It's like what I just did. I've taken what somebody said and I've taken my interpretation. I put a thing out. Now that person's not in a horrible way, so I didn't say that. So I'll correct it. Do you get what I mean? Like, I'm very happy to do that. My interpretation still doesn't change on that. But because I'm quoting someone in a tweet, I'll correct it for them. I wish that Twitter had an edit button. This is crazy they haven't added that yet. Mainly for when I put spelling mistakes in because I'm dyslexic. But overall, it's people get so angry about the amount of people. Terry, you said 5 days ago the deal was happening for Tellers. Yeah, that's what I read. And you think, I know some people try and wind me up with it, but you sort of sit there and think, are you genuinely telling me that you're still not listening to the videos where I've said this journalist says X? What do you think? Terry, you told us 4 days ago it was happening. No. That was an article in the Daily Mail said it was happening. Or do you get where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
And why get so emotional about that? But like we said before, for some people, if they can get a reaction out of you, if they can trigger you, if they can upset me, that makes their day. So I just ignore it. Like the people that are commenting on that tweet, are you this, are you that? They're not responding to the fact that the guys then thanked me for correcting it and gone, yeah, that's what I said. That's cool. That's true. Do you get what I mean? Even though I would say to his face, bruv, that's a transfer request in my opinion. Like forcing a move. Like if the news came, right now, all these Man United haters who don't think the forcing the move news is true. Nah, no way. If the same guy tweeted right now, Pogba's forcing a move out of Man United, they'd all believe it instantly.
Yeah.
And that's why you shouldn't allow them getting like annoyed. Like, don't ignore them being annoyed. What they're really annoyed about half the time is that they're either desperate for it not to be true or they're so desperate for it to be true that they don't like having their hopes dashed. When actually, remember, the journalist's only reporting on what he's being told. But let's just say I'm a journalist and I know Ollie, and Ollie wants to feed me a bit of BS so a story comes out to throw out a smoke screen. It's not my fault.
Yeah.
Like it isn't. I'm only reporting on what I've been told as a journalist, and I think that's important. But there we go on that one. If you want to call the show, Skype lines are open. We're going to be here for a little while longer. Please hit that like button. Let's get past 1,000 likes, please, ladies and gentlemen. Be amazing if we could. Remember, we're going to be live tonight for Brighton. I keep forgetting United are playing a football match tonight. The transfer news has been so mad the last couple of days. But I do feel jaded with transfer news, and as a part of me that is looking forward to when it's over, although I am enjoying it. More and more news coming out about Tellus, that the deal is becoming closer and closer to an announcement. We have on the show now, we're adding Marvelous to the show. Marvelous. Turn down your device in the background for me, please, mate. More and more news coming out about Marvelous. The deal is becoming closer and closer. I've muted you, Marvelous. You need to turn that down. Can you not hear us? Turn that down in the background, bro, and then unmute your Skype line. Cool. Marvelous is not coming on. Anyone else want to call in? Make sure you've got your device turned down and then you're listening to us. Football with Brownie says, Terry, I'm very surprised about Jovic being linked away from Real Madrid, as the press over there in Spain have been heaping praise on him. Yeah, I mean,
all I know about Jovic is that he's not really favoured by Zidane anyway.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm not really surprised that he's like linked. That if the Spanish media are praising him, maybe that's to help with someone getting him. You know what I mean? I'm not too sure, because people, the press like doing that for clubs, especially from Madrid.
I was going to say that the last match Real Madrid just played, if you were to go on the social media accounts of Real Madrid, you can see people commenting Benzema out, because a lot of people have been frustrated. They don't want Jovic to leave. They know he's very quality, but Zidane just doesn't play him. He just needs more game time to show what he's worth, and he hasn't been able to do that. So personally, I think a move away for him would be good, unless Zidane does eventually change his mind.
No, I do hear that. We've got Cameron on the line now. Cameron, what do you make of the story, first of all, Sancho potentially pushing for a move away, been confirmed by a journalist today, and also the difference in views from journalists? One side of it saying that Dortmund won't sell no matter what. The other saying if United offer a guarantee of 120 million euros, it happens. What's your opinion, mate?
So the pushing of the move, I've been saying that's got to happen. As much as like we've been saying we don't want him to be that kind of guy, it's like at this point he's got to now force their hand a bit. So I believe it. I believe like that's the next step. Like it's gotten to a point where he's probably been patient. He's been like, well, whatever. If United's not making a bid, then there's nothing I can do. But now that they are making a bid at this point, it's like, all right, guys, like time to sell me. I want to go. So I believe it. We'll just, again, I'm just to stand by everything I've been saying. 120 M's, however it's structured, that's the only way the deal gets done. Nobody should be surprised when that happens, because that's what it'll take. And I'll love to see people try and chirp and say, oh, look, they ended up caving and spending the money anyway when they could have done it at the start of the window. Like, shut up. Like,
but that's
whatever.
That's all nonsense anyway.
Yeah,
one of the biggest reasons we've waited is there's news just through from the Telegraph that Newcastle United have made contact with Man United. Finally, they've been talking about it all summer, for Chris Smalling and Phil Jones. Now, if Phil Jones goes, I don't care if he goes for free. That's 80 to 90 grand a week you save in salary. And like
I've told people, he's on like 120.
No, I think that was a rumor. I actually think he was below 100, but it's still a lot of money for a player of his quality. And like I've said to so many people in the past, net spend doesn't exist. It isn't what you spend on transfers in versus what you spend out. It's total player cost. Phil Jones earns more money at Man United than Bruno Fernandes does. The point is you need to get rid of, him, Smalling, and Pereira collectively pretty much will cost what Sancho costs in salary. And we had to remove all these people before signing because we're losing 140 million pound of income. How people, even like Gary Neville, like tweeting about, it's like, guys, come on, mate. Surely you understand the financial, I don't know. Maybe it's their way of trying to put more pressure on the Glazers to do better. But it just seems weird that nobody else can understand that from a financial standpoint, when all the financial football experts have been saying this. I've had them on my show 5 times since April, that it was going to be like this because of what was going to happen. Man like Mo's joined us on the line. Man like Mo, not only could we see the deal for Sancho finally happen, Telles is getting closer, but Phil Jones might be leaving. Give us your opinions, man like Mo. Mo, you there, mate? You're on the line. You're not muted. You should be able to speak. That's a shame. He did call in. Try calling back if it weren't working. We have another super chat here from Cam who says, at the potential signings of Jovic and Telles. Are the potential signings of Jovic and Telles enough for Man United fans to believe they can mount a top 4 challenge? Great show. I'll ask you boys out. I'll go to KJ first. If it's Telles, Van der Beek, and Jovic, is that enough, considering our current squad, to get us into the top 4?
Yeah, I think that would be good enough reinforcements to solidify a top 4 spot. We wouldn't go on and have a title push or anything like that, but like we would be a solid team in the top 4. I think that'll be enough to make us comfortable. I still think we would need more though if we want to fully progress into what we could be.
Yeah. I think top 4, fine. Cameron, what are you saying, mate? I suppose it all depends on what Jovic we get. If we get the Jovic that was in the Bundesliga, or is it not enough?
So I'm torn on the Jovic one. I'm always torn on taking players that didn't work out for Barca or Real. Just because I like them being stuck with deadweight, to be completely honest. Like, it's true though, because like I've been like, there's been a lot of fans out there talking about how, like Sancho should just wait to go to Barcelona because it's going to be a way better situation than him. Like a dysfunctional Barca is way better than a dysfunctional Man United. I'm just sitting there like, what? So it's like when you look at when Barca fail, nobody really talks about it as much because it's like maybe they do in Europe, in Spain or whatnot, but they don't in like the media that I see. So I'm always worried about taking their dead weight because I like seeing them fail in that sense. But if we get the Jovic from the Bundesliga, of course, I would welcome that. He's a different kind of striker.
Yeah.
The Cavani one doesn't worry me as much as some people say because of the age, because I think we're seeing a trend with a lot of these older target men, and Jimenez I put in that category as well because he's like 29, 30 now. You see Zlatan still hasn't slowed down. You see Jack. There's a lot of older target men who they get better with age because it's now ingrained in them. It's instinct. They just know where to be. They're in the right spots. It's not about them being old. They can still, if they're still in good shape. So where it changes, it's like when you look at like an Higuain who's just fat. Obviously he can't play anymore, right? So it's like I'm torn between either. I wouldn't be upset with either as long as we don't break our wage structure for Cavani. I wouldn't care. I'd be like, if Cavani came in at like 150K a week, 2 years, perfect. Why not slot him in?
Which is a great point you make there, Cameron. In any of this business that we do, it's important that we don't break the structure that we've been building. And that's why I've said all along, timing doesn't bother me. It's about the end results in terms of the structure. Was it part of our plan? Even if it's to go for Jovic now because we can't get Sancho, say that's what it is. Was that part of what we were always going to do? If the answer is yes, then I'm comfortable. What I would say is this, as you say there, if we get the Jovic that was at Real Madrid last year, top 4 might be hard. If we get the Jovic that was in the Bundesliga, who bangs in 27 goals, you could see us more than secure top 4. We could win some silverware or push ourselves closer towards the top, not actually win the league. But if you had another goal scorer now, someone said, right, your new attacking signing will score 27 to 30 goals this season, plus everybody else is going to do well, like we know they're going to, you'd be really confident. So I think it could be enough. It just depends what Jovic we get.
I'm sorry.
Regardless, in the top 4, if you think about it, guys, like the way I look at it right now, and I'm going into this, maybe I'm being too bullish here, is as long as we get in Tellers or whatnot, we should be good enough to make top 4. Like that's how I look at it. Like I'm not. That's how I look at this season. I don't know.
Yeah,
sorry,
Cam, you made a couple of points there which I wanted to talk about. I think first one with Cavani. I think you're right about the wage structure thing. You're bang on in terms of like the trend of older strikers doing really well. That is true, but if you look at the strikers that are doing that, their injury record is impeccable, and Cavani is questionable. I think that's the only thing I'm really worried about in terms of him being older. If he was a clean injury record, I'd be like, yo, bring him in, because Zlatan, I was happy for Zlatan to come in because I knew that his injury record wasn't that bad. But that's the only thing with that. In terms of Real Madrid, and you're saying you don't really want to bring players who are a bit deadwood from Real Madrid. We see this a lot where players sometimes are at these clubs and they move away and then they refine their form and they rejuvenate. That happens a lot with Madrid. It happens a lot with Barca. It happens a lot with Man United. So I'm feeling like, why couldn't we be one of those teams that takes one of these players and actually rejuvenate them and get them back to what?
Look at James Rodriguez right now. As an example. And let's see whether that continues or not. We don't know, but it's for a season-long loan. Again, let's talk about the deal. I would only want it to be a season-long loan with an option to buy at the end of it that gives us power over Real Madrid. So what I don't want to do is have him come in, Ollie improve him like we've seen Ollie improve so many of our players, improve him and develop him. He starts killing it, and then Real Madrid say, cheers, thanks for coaching our player for a year. We'll have him back, thanks. We need to have something in place that protects us from that. Again, so there's me saying I only want it if the deal protects Man United at the end. I think that for me is a real sort of important element to this. Cam here with another super chat says, clearly United will get Jovic from La Liga. However, can Ole Gunnar Solskjaer get the best out of him as he, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, unleashed Martial, for example? So, I didn't know that super chat was going to say that until I read it, and that's the point. A lot of people. I was watching a massive YouTube channel earlier talk about Ollie, and they were when I say literally laughing at him, they were literally laughing about him as a manager, calling me yes man, saying how everything good that's happened at Man United, they said it's all just been luck, it's all been a fluke. And I also love the fact that rivals say that about him, because we've all said none of us know whether he can win us a league title. So people go, well, that's what you should be doing. If you're not winning league titles as Man United, you're failing. And I kind of feel like that's a fair thing to say when we're at the peak of our powers. But we haven't been there. We fell from grace, and we need to be rebuilt again. No matter how big you are as a football club, no matter how popular you are as a football club, no matter what you do as a football club, you need to have a structure, a culture, and a foundation to grow from. We obliterated ours into pieces over a 7-year period. There was nothing left. It wasn't just smashed up. It was smashed. It was burnt. It was put on a skip and taken away. It was gone. It was empty. It had fallen apart. Player power was starting to exist. No identity on the football field. No pattern to our scouting methods. You know, we had a squad that was the hybrid of 4 to 5 different managers' philosophies rolled into one. So to go from that, where we were 18 months ago, about 20 months ago now, 21 to 20 months ago, to go from that to being a team that just finished third, that's had our first ever summer where no player's been demanding to leave, a squad that's improving. We've had some really good form, still sketching, still improving. That's almost 2 years into Ollie's plan. Ollie, by the way, not being a manager at the same level as a Klopp or a Pep, to not recognize that you can't go from where we were to being title challengers with a snap of your fingers is an absolute madness. Equally, we've had City and Liverpool that have been putting in points totals in that time that are beyond anything else we've ever seen in the Premier League era. So what it does, it also creates this illusion that Man United are further behind the top than ever before. But as Liverpool and City start to level out and maybe start winning titles with mid-80 points, and we start getting points of the high 70s, you go, hang on, now we're only 7 or 8 points away from the top, which is fairly normal in those circumstances. By the way, by the end of this season we're now in, I then want us to start mounting title challenges again under Ollie, because that's the expectation, a 2 to 3 year build to get yourselves ready. Liverpool didn't become title winners and Champions League winners and contenders with Liverpool 18 months into SFG. They didn't even do it 2.5 years into Jurgen Klopp. It's been a 10-year process to get Liverpool to this stage. Man City under Pep has been about an 8-year process to get themselves up. So each manager they had from when the money came in, each manager got better, each squad got better, everything behind the scenes got better until they were in a position to bring in a Pep and do it. They were not ready for a manager of Pep's level 5-6 years before Pep came in, because the club hadn't grown. And this notion that Man United, forget our history. Look how long it took Fergie to take the biggest club in England back to being champions of England again. It took him 5-6 years, I think. Maybe it was even a bit longer. because we've been broken for so long. Now, I'm not saying it should take 5 or 6 years, but what we have different now, as opposed to then, is much worse owners. So to discount all of that context and go, well, you should be challenging for titles. Coming third is just no good. Based on what? Based on history. Based on the history that you tell us not to talk about anymore. Weird. But that's because these are not intelligent football people. They're just out there looking for rage bait. That's all it's for.
And yeah, I agree with what you said. And Cam, you also mentioned another point about people saying Sancho should wait to go to Barca or Real Madrid. And I made this point off stream when I was talking to my friends about Paul Pogba. And take it how you want. I said potentially Pogba moving away from Man United, it could be actually a worse career move than staying. And I say this because if you look around world football, everyone bar Liverpool and Liverpool and Bayern are in a rebuild.
And PSG, I guess, too.
Well, even PSG, they've lost Thiago Silva, they've lost Cavani, and they're still gonna need they're still gonna need to change things up in their team. And this is the thing I was saying all these teams are rebuilding. We've seen Paul Pogba. He doesn't play his best football in a rebuild situation. And if you look at United, you could argue, I'm not saying they are, I say you could argue that we are further ahead, especially if we get Sancho, especially if we get like Tellers, we are further ahead in our rebuild than many of these top teams. And so, could we hit our peak quicker and sooner than these other teams that you could potentially go to? And that's the same with Jadon Sancho as well.
And I think we're right at that cusp, right? If we do get Jadon Sancho and then we get Tellus and then next year Upamecano come in, I'm sorry, then all of a sudden United, as long as Ollie continues his trajectory of what he's been doing, at that point, United's got to be one of the favorites to win it all, like everything. You would look at our squad and say, this squad is built to win everything. Like, and the thing is, the difference, you look at like what Chelsea's done, the difference with who we're bringing in is Sancho is much more proven than Kai Havertz was. Like, he's way more raw. I'm not saying he's a bad player. I'm not saying he's not going to be great, but he's way more raw. You look at like a Timo Werner, who is the system, the way he plays. Like, there's less question marks about the players we're looking to bring in at this point because we know what we have. Like, we now know that Rashford and Martial are 20, 25 goal scorers throughout the season. We now know our defense is one of the best in Europe based on statistics. Never mind what people want to say about Maguire. Yes, Lindelof has to go, but like at the end of the day, we now know we have one of the best, and nobody will just dispute it, midfields in the world. There's just, it's all now has to come together, just like Liverpool had the same thing.
Yeah.
And the one thing I wanted to say though, and this is a point I wanted to bring up to you guys. The only thing that worries me about the Sancho deal, and I'm just playing devil's advocate here, how many $100 million deals outside of Neymar have worked?
Mate, we had this exact same comment. You might have missed the stream.
I might have missed it. Sorry. Yeah.
We brought this point up. If you look at we looked at the top 15 transfers of all time and how many have been a resounding success. I think out of the 15, we kind of named 4 as resounding successes. However, the caveat to that is, again, context. And what I mean by that is, Maguire is a prime example. He's looked at as being unsuccessful so far at United because he hasn't had the same impact as Van Dijk had, and United haven't had the same instant success from that signing onwards that they did. So it's the barometer's there. It's like Gareth Bale. The reason I believe that a lot of Madrid fans don't look at him as a success, he cost what Ronaldo cost, but didn't score as many goals as Ronaldo did. And there's this warped view that, okay, you're 80 million, Ronaldo is 80 million, you play similar positions, you must deliver the same. I mean, what they're taking out of context is I think 4-year, 5-year price increase in players because of money in football. Again, the football world not educating football fans on how inflation within football works. And if you put a Ronaldo of Man United into the market in 2014, he would have been 150 to 160 million. If you put peak Ronaldo at Man United in the market now, he's a 250 million pound player because of inflation. And this is where it always gets lost on football fans, the context of why things cost what they do now as opposed to them. So people apply the same pressure. Like I said last summer, Maguire's got to do the same as Van Dijk. Van Dijk's value is at 130 million pounds, right? They're costing the same. Have you seen in 18 months? Have you seen what's happened to the finances within football? No, why do I care about that? Well, you must, because the inflation has grown so much that players cost, that the cost of players is elevated alongside it. So you want Maguire to be as successful as Van Dijk because he's cost the same up front, but Van Dijk's valuation is almost double. So it's never about valuation. You know, Robertson cost £8 million, but the expectation of every football fan in the world for Robertson is not of an £8 million player. If it's of a 70, 80, 90 million pound fullback, because he's one of the very, very best in world football. The fact that you bought him so cheaply at Liverpool is something to celebrate in terms of a business deal. But the quality of the player is the quality of the player is the quality of the player is the quality of the player. So when you sign someone for 80, 90 million, why was Paul Pogba 85 million? Well, we know why. One, the marketing side of it makes a player more expensive. The other element is the price got driven up because of the stupid contract that Juve signed with Mino Raiola. So he was getting 40 to 45% of the transfer fee, which meant Juve had to hike the price up to sell him. They could only do that by making sure he had at least 3 years left on his current deal. They had to hike it up so they got something. If they hadn't have done that deal, they may not have signed him. But if that clause wasn't there, United would have got Pogba for 50 million, and the expectation of Paul Pogba wouldn't be as high as it is now. So what ends up happening is we don't educate football fans on why players cost what they cost. The commerciality, the marketability, the scarcity of players, and then, of course, the clauses they have within their contracts when they're signed in the first place. When you don't understand the context, you don't understand the price. When you only look at the price, your expectations are screwed. Because your expectations are screwed, how you view somebody's success changes. If Pogba cost 40 million pounds, everyone would say it was an amazing buy. He's the same player, but the only reason he wasn't 40 million, 50 million is because of the clauses and the marketability in the guy. It's a madness. And if we educate football fans properly, because 95% of football fans have got a brain in their head, if they understood how it worked, they wouldn't be angry. If they had somebody on TV today on Sky Sports explaining why clubs leave it to the last week or so to make transfers and explain the rationale and why it works and why it's successful and why so many clubs follow this model, they might not like it, but at least they'll have an understanding. Transparency. If you go to a company and ask why have you done X to me? And they just say a procedure, you get angry, right? They explain the procedure and make it make sense. You may not like it, but at least you understand it and you're calmer. This is the problem. Football fans purposefully, it's dumbed down to us. And because it's dumbed down to us, our expectations are screwed and our understanding isn't there. But what does that lead to? It leads to the same very thing they're looking for every day, rage bait. They want to make you angry. Why? Because then you tune into their stories. If we don't sign Sancho for whatever reason, when all the videos come out and there's a presenter on Sky or ESPN saying it's a disgrace that Man United left it this long, it's a sign that the club ain't being run well, it's a panic buy, it's this, it's that. All the fans go, yeah, it is. But if you actually had somebody on there explaining the real rationale as to why, you'd go, oh, okay, I understand it now. But they're never going to do that because they want you angry. Why? Because angry sells, negativity sells. And there we go.
Mm-hmm. I agree, and I enjoy having a go at the ESPN guys who just are lapping this up, the whole Sancho deal, just hoping it fails for us so they can have a go at us and be like, well, they will left it to the end. They think they're so blah blah blah. It's just the media loves inciting our fan base because our fan base feeds it to them.
We bite, fam.
It's like fight so hard, and it's just gotten ridiculous. Like I've seen people like a post yesterday where they were like, United bid 136 million on Ansu Fati and it wasn't turned down. And one guy's like, this is my joke of one club. I hate this club. And I'm like, you're the joke if you actually believe that. I'm like, are you serious? Like what?
They would never sell him, Barcelona.
And if we're trying to get Sancho for under 120 million euro, where the hell we got money to spend 145 million on Fati?
Exactly. They're saying the same thing for Richarlison too, that United were trying to bid 100 million, and that made no sense either. It's like the same time those Sancho rumors are coming, they're saying, okay, United want Richarlison. Same time, Ancelotti said, oh, he's never going to let go of Richarlison. That was before the rumors, so that didn't make sense at all.
Exactly. It's most of them don't, but what happens is when you build up enough rumors, people stop looking at the validity of the rumors. They just go into, we've been rejected for all these players. You know, I've seen it in this stream. No Paul FC. It's like, well, we didn't go in for United this summer. Have tried to sign Van der Beek and got him. We've gone after Sancho, and Sancho wants to come, so the pull is there. Tellus wants to come, the pull is there. We're negotiating over the price. Regulon wanted to come, but we rejected him because we didn't want some stupid buyback clause. The only player that wasn't interested in joining us, and you take it on the chin, is Thiago. We inquired. He said, no, I want to go Liverpool. We went, fine. We moved on.
Gotta head
That's
out,
it.
boys. We'll talk after we smash Brighton.
Yeah. This is it. This is quite literally that's been our business this year. Now, we've done stories and all the other rumors, but go back and watch the videos. Go back and watch my video when we were supposedly hijacking Kai Havertz. What did I say? Nonsense. My videos on Fatty, I said nonsense. Videos of going for All Black, I said nonsense. You know, 95% of the deals outside of those group of players, up until the recent few days with these loan moves, I've said, I can't see it myself. You know, I actually said at the time that David Brooks deal, didn't think it was anything in that. Wasn't. Gabriel, Man United supposedly inquired about Gabriel. That's a great point. We did, but we weren't interested. We never followed it up. It wasn't that the player said no to us. We never followed it up. So,
and remember, if you actually remember, he was waiting for other deals.
And Man United didn't come back in for him. A player doesn't sit there waiting for a club to come back for him if they're looking to, if he doesn't want to go there. And this is the thing, like, people are just crazy with it. It's crazy. Like, United have been, if you want to say Sancho rejected us, I'm very willing to accept that, because we did make an inquiry and he said, no, everybody else wanted to join us. It's whether we wanted to go for them or not. And I love how we've done that business, because you know what? If this is the irony in it, we could have got Regulon done earlier. We could have got Gabriel done earlier. We maybe even would have been able to convince Thiago to come if we did the same thing with him as we did with Sanchez, and everybody would have moaned about that behavior. If Gabriel turns out to be a flop, no one's going to congratulate us for walking away early in the summer of 2020, but going, you know what? We don't think he's good enough. Do you get where I'm coming from? And this is the thing, you know, wait for the ability for hindsight before you start to judge how well we've done. You know, I always remember being really annoyed when we let Ruud van Nistelrooy leave in the summer of 2006, and we didn't make any real replacements for him. If you go back to the summer of 2006, I think we signed Michael Carrick only, as far as I'm aware. I'm actually going to go and check that now, because I think Alan Smith was still out with a broken leg. That he broke at Liverpool in the FA Cup that same season. Ruud van Nistelrooy was allowed to go to Real Madrid. And yes, we started to look good towards the end of the 2005-06 season. We won the League Cup as an example. But we went into that summer and all these rumors that Van Nistelrooy was leaving. We all know how good a goal scorer he was. And I'm thinking to myself, who are we going to buy? Who are we going to buy? And I'm absolutely right. We bought no one that summer. We bought in, we got Thomas Kuzak on loan as a goalkeeper, and we bought Michael Carrick. Summer before that, the summer before that, we bought in Edwin van der Sar, we bought in Park Ji-sung, and then we got Patrice Evra and Vidic in the January. So let's go back to the summer of 2006, Man United fans. We had Park Ji-sung, who we weren't that impressed with in the 05-06 season. That was a fact. We had Evra and Vidic that had come in, who weren't first teamers by the end of 2006. They were actually, with Evra, a lot of people said he was never going to be good enough. We went into the summer of 06 after 3 years without winning the league title, and we just bought Michael Carrick. We knew how good he was, but we sold Ruud van Nistelrooy. Fans were angry. Who's going to score our goals, they said. Who's going to score our goals? 06-07 season, Cristiano Ronaldo turned up and started scoring more. Rooney started scoring more, as an example. We go on to win the league. We did bring Henrik Larsson in for a month period in the January, but we went on and we did it. Hindsight, ladies and gentlemen. Hindsight. Imagine Man United fans in the summer of 2006 now. They would have gone they would have said Brexit FC because we've sold Van Nistelrooy and bought an Englishman in Carrick. Why are we getting some Dutch, some Polish goalie on loan no one's heard of? Why are we signing an old man in January who's old and past it? That's what they would. From I think he was playing back in Norway by then, as far as I'm aware, or Sweden. Sorry, Sweden back by then. Yeah, do you get where I'm coming from? Like, there was hindsight. Let's see how, whoever we sign, I'm going to wait and see. I'm going to start behaving how I used to behave towards Man United, because I do think fans' behavior plays a part. By the way, the following summer, Anderson, Nani, Hargreaves, Tevez all came in. What a summer that was. Because the following season, those 4 players all killed it. And we almost won another treble, but we won a domestic cup. And by the way, that same summer when we let Giuseppe Rossi go and we let Heinz go, people were kicking off. Why are we letting them go? Heinz is our best left back, they said at the time. Right, one of our best left backs, they said at the time. Can't be letting him go. Cover. Giuseppe Rossi, a good youngster coming through. You know, it's just the way it is sometimes. And I just feel that we never want to apply hindsight. You don't know whether the deal is going to be good until the season's over. And by the way, Van Nistelrooy went on to do quite well at Real Madrid. But we then went on to win 3 league titles on the bounce. No one cared. You know, we might miss out on Sancho and be so angry this summer. But let's maybe look back in 2 or 3 years' time. We might actually be saying, so glad we didn't get him. Who knows? Who knows? You know, it's just one of them things for me. I mean, do you think Liverpool fans regret any way, shape or form Philippe Coutinho leaving? It's just true. But boys, listen, I appreciate you all coming on and giving me your opinions. Everyone who's tuned in, thank you. Hit the like button, hit the share button. We're back in a couple of hours for Man United versus Brighton in the Carabao Cup. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again soon. Peace.